Is near, new league, new teams, a new story starts here, where a nation began, with big nose, no bounds, where hot will be hotter, time to turn up this sound, where glamour meets grit, where empires are grown, where great things launch, and the game returns.
All right, you podcast, whatever, me listen. Me podcast, you listen. That's the XFL theme music. Looks like it was about a year ago when they were introducing this music. Looks like they're introducing
all the song you're asking before we went on the air.
It's happening. You ready for it? Scream. They have another one here. This is intro from 7 years ago, so maybe it was 7 years ago. This is what it used to sound like, XFL.
No, that wasn't announced 7 years ago. Remember that it was during that hubbub with the controversy in NFL. That's where McMahon decided to invest millions in this relaunch.
Well, this is what it was. This is Reimage 2020, 2 years ago, I guess, is when they decided to come out with this.
The future. This is not the past. This is the future. And the future moves fast. This is quicker, simpler, rules, reform. This is your game, safer. This is football, reborn. This is gaming and fantasy. This is padded, roulette. Make a trade, make a team, make a move.
I don't know what they're talking about here, do you?
Above all. This is maximum.
When did they have fantasy? I don't think there was any fantasy going on with this sucker.
Yeah, they just tried to capitalize on everything, I think. Because the first thing I do when I create a company is hire a rapper to rap about, you know.
Was that a rap, or was that just him reading off of the back of a cereal box?
Was just somebody, like a little kid, xylophone, just sitting,
covered in corn syrup, and it's got quack. It tastes really good with a spoon and a rag. What? It's like he's reading something. Humpty Dumpty jumped over a wall. Humpty Dumpty gets ready for football.
Football never ends because when the Super Bowl is over, the XFL begins.
Yeah, and they got teams like Houston, St. Louis, not in Phoenix. Don't worry about it. It'll be a... I don't have anything right with that one. I don't got anything there.
Well, apparently, I think some of it was, I don't know if it was contractual, that due to, I think, previous leagues and stuff, that they, when it was announced, at least, I think we were talking about this either last show or a couple shows ago, that it was like one of the last football, like, expanded football leagues or whatever, I think had folded, and at the time, some of the cities were hosting, I think, one of those other teams, and I think that's why they couldn't get like a Chicago or some of the other certain teams that didn't have one.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, they had cool. They had that league come out when the NFL started. That flopped like after 2 games.
Yeah.
Arizona had the Arizona Hot Shots or whatever there was. Well, it did. I did make money.
It did. It drew some big ratings. Actually, out drew the WWE itself. This Vince McMahon, Alpha Entertainment. He put his millions up where his mouth was when he said they didn't want to be the NFL. They wanted to make it fan friendly, and I watched either highlights or actual live game footage. And
now I didn't watch the game, but I heard that they tried to interview players right after they'd make a play.
Yeah, there was one funny one. Okay, so let's try to set up the scenario here. So the punter buries this other team. I'm trying to remember. I want to say that this was in the last game, the Sunday evening game, which I believe was the Rednecks, or was it the Houston Roughnecks? Not Rednecks.
Yeah.
So they buried
the Rednecks.
Houston Rednecks.
The Houston Rednecks. Wee-hoo.
against the L.A. spoiled brats.
Because the L.A. famous ones.
Famous ones. So he buried the punter, awesome punt. I don't know if it was like 60 yards or whatever. He buries them like inside the 5. So what happens is, and to his defense, he thought the ball touched like the punt returner's leg.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would have buried him. That's all he did was just kind of let it go. They were going to be buried there. So he falls on it, knocks him into the end zone.
What do you mean by buried him?
Like the punter would have buried him at the 1. When you do because the punt returner just let it go, and it would have rolled and stopped basically inside between the goal line and the 5-yard line.
Oh.
So it was basically had them pinned
right.
deep in there.
Right.
And he ran in there, he knocked it into the end zone, and then the announcers are ripping him. Pat McAfee, who's former NFL player, who's done some stuff for WWE too, he's basically in there saying, you ruined it and all that. So he runs, eventually I think he's sideline reporter, so he runs right up to him. It was either the next couple plays later, and he defends himself. He just says, "I thought he touched it, and that's why I went for the ball." But yeah, it was pretty funny because that you would imagine the last thing a player that messes up, quote unquote messes up, wants to do is have a microphone in his face. And why did you do that?
Well, the one that made the highlight reel, the one that actually made the right away, was the Seattle Dragons player who dropped the F-bomb during an interview.
There's just a lot of trying after play. We're trying to make some stuff happen, and they're doing a little extra pushing and shoving. We're trying to get our fucking job done. They're just...
Well, that's what you get, live mic.
This guy's panting and huffing, and they're fucking got a microphone in his face.
Happening, they're doing a little extra pushing and shoving. We're trying to get our fucking job done. They're just...
And then it gets dead silent. They cut the camera off.
There's just a lot of trying after play. We're trying to make some stuff happen, and they're doing a lot of trying after.
The camera they just cut the sound. The dude's just over there talking like.
They're like, what do we do? Shouldn't we have had this on 7 Second today?
We're just trying to get our fucking job done.
You know what was another one that was interesting? They actually have camera in the booth. You might have seen the meme on it. So they got the head officials in the booth, and he's watching it, and he's using a slow motion. It looks like a Sega Genesis, remote control.
Yeah.
Meme when you're supposed to be doing your job, and they catch gaming life or some shit like that. So they actually go up there and they show you what they're talking about with the officials on the field, and then the head, what do they call it, the sky judge, I think.
Yeah.
And he's up there in the booth. So I found this hilarious. It's you'll probably never see this in NFL because they're probably figuring out how to rig the score or some shit, but it's hilarious that they're showing that, and he's talking to him, and it was actually unique, a little different, peek, pull the curtain back type of deal with that stuff.
The other one that came out was Troy Aikman and Pat McAfee nearly get hit by an XFL player during an interview on the sideline. Again, maybe they want to rethink about these sideline interviews.
XFL, a chance to kind of see how it's adopted here in the XFL and how it's received and how it works and all those things.
Troy Aikman did look a little spry. Looked awake.
Troy. Jeez, Troy. Get out of the way, Troy.
You're going to get me killed over here, aren't you?
He didn't get... He's standing right. He's standing right on the sideline. He's not even he's by the first down marker, fucking interviewing him, basically a foot away from the first down marker, and he's like, "Hey, well, this is a good spot to do the interview. Why not just go in the end zone, Troy, and just stand there and see what happens, dumbasses."
Got these all NFL players all fucking drunk on their ass. They're like, football after the Super Bowl? What the fuck?
Yeah, here's the other one. Here's an awkward sideline interview with Seattle's quarterback, Brandon Slivers.
Was his starting quarterback, Brandon Silvers, who had a little cup of coffee with the New York Jets in the springtime. Brandon warming up here with his teammate. You know there's so much excitement out here. You don't know too much about the defense you're facing, so sort of to get a rhythm here on offense, who are you looking to go to?
Just trying to get your playmakers the ball to start the game. We're going to end up with a run right here, getting the ball to Trey Williams. So
this dude's trying to warm up, and they're out there fucking interviewing him. Like, so what should you do here?
Like, you know those scandals, like in the locker room with the women reporters in there?
Yeah.
They make the mistake of doing that. He comes back in there like...
There was fights in during the XFL. They should have had someone get a ladder. Get the table!
They're like, what is the woman doing here at the microphone back and on the sideline? It's like they're like 50 years behind and everything.
Get the table!
Get the tables.
They ejected people in this game already, huh?
Well, I don't know. They'll have to prepare for that because they'll probably have to tell them. But you can. I mean, if you're on a field, if you've done any type of sports, your adrenaline's like running through the roof. You're hyped up. You're playing the game. Like F-bombs are probably going to drop. There's going to probably be a lot of, passion and emotion. Maybe somebody pissed off that when they asked the quarterback, what were you thinking when you threw that interception?
Who was just involved in the flags and the get-together. And there's a look at the block. What a great job.
So, where did they play these games? Because actually they had goalposts, so they had to play them at some kind of stadiums.
Yeah, I thought originally that was part of the thing. That may have been what we were discussing in the previous.
Maybe they didn't have goalposts, that they just couldn't. That's why
it's like a child's goalpost. It's like one of those ones Fisher Price makes.
It's all plastic. It's just a plastic goalpost. It says Little Tykes.
It's Little Tykes, sponsored by Little Tykes. It's our goalposts for this evening. We brought them in from Target sponsored.
So what did they? So did they say how much they rolled in on cash?
I don't know, but there's a lot of people in at least some of the games. I know they're on YouTube. You can find like actual highlight recaps of entire games. I mean, I'm not sure what they made like at the gate, but
here's one of the XFL posters that says a quick chat with Coach Phelps Fahim immediately after the field goal. We said unpredictable. We meant unpredictable. So they meant it.
Coach obviously had a really nice time-consuming drive, executed very, very well there. I hear you over the voice control command, really working with those receivers from an execution standpoint. How did you feel that drive went?
It was good for us to find the rhythm. The quarterback did a great job of converting the third and long.
See, I feel like this is going to distract the coaches from coaching, man. I mean, they got to fucking coach, right?
Yeah, I mean, every play you're going to have a microphone in front of your coach. What were you thinking with that horrible run call you just made?
So, are those gloves you purchased, you're going to give those back, right? Because you dropped about 6 passes, and obviously those gloves aren't working for you. That would be funny if they fucking just criticized these dudes. So when you were running down the field, did you have something stuck in your shoe? Because you were kind of galloping.
While I'm chafing, I got to really wipe my ass, but I got to wait till halftime.
So they did. They interviewed people, and they were all over everybody's shit right after they interviewed them. Seems like they focused a lot on this Dragons Houston game. And let's see. I'm trying to see if they have the referee thing you're talking about. I don't see the referee part. Now, someone did mention that they did let the referees, they did let them go through the instant replay, and they thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was the Sky Judge thing. I want to say it was the last game of the week and Sunday evening game that they were actually there was a long call, controversial call that I think it ended up that there wasn't enough undisputable evidence to switch it, but they kept showing it in slow motion until they finally made that call.
And they used an Xbox remote, you said?
It looked like an Xbox, right? The Genesis, but yeah, looked like he was using the remote. You probably can look online. You can find a meme on it, the guy looks like he's gaming up there while the game's going on, basically.
So basically, from Hollywood Reporter, it said it drew decent numbers backed by WWE. Looks like the 4 games, 2 on Fox, 1 on ABC, and 1 on ESPN, averaged 3.12 million viewers and 1 point rating among adults 18 to 49. Those ratings are in line with the inaugural primetime game for the Alliance of American Football. Well, that's not a good thing to line it up for, because that's the one that fucking folded, was that Alliance program. They're in line. They're in line to get the Alliance, which averaged 3.25 million viewers, but they got less than a point. Fox Sunday's afternoon game had the biggest audience of 3.39 million viewers, while ESPN Sunday's telecast was the smallest of the 4, with just under 2.5. The quality of play and rules changes, they said, included the elimination of the extra point, the first incarnation of the XFL, a partnership between McMahon and NBC. Now, NBC is a partner in this? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's weird that they're a partner and they're showing it on different channels, showing on ABC and Fox.
They may have got Vince, who's got a good relationship with them, may have got them to invest in it.
So last year, he said that the first incarnation that was McMahon and NBC, and the 14 million views for its primetime opener. Ratings quickly plummeted, however, as the quality of the play and pro wrestling style presentation were subpar. It folded after a single season. So it was almost 20 years ago that this thing came out.
Yeah, I was telling you before I went on the air, I was used to work in the city of Peoria, and one of the guys who was going to be like the wide receiver in one of the league teams, he was working with me when I was working in the stadium, and he was all hyped up. Obviously, he was going to be playing football and hoping they'd win somewhere. I had him sign a bunch of balls and stuff, but yes, they quickly became worth nothing. Probably worse with his signature on them.
Probably about as good as me signing shit. Hey man, playing for the Scottsdale Thunder. Let me just go ahead and sign some of these things, and that might be famous one day, buddy.
You are a famous comedian.
Playing for the AZFL. You never know. It might be fucking famous.
You should have signed some pie tins instead of footballs.
So Yahoo Sports wrote about it. So let's see. It's getting a bunch of publicity. Yahoo Sports says in the second version of XFL lasts one full season, it will beat the Alliance of American Football if it lasts more than one season.
If they can
where's
make it
that?
I think
No, that's the wrong one. No, this is the wrong buttons. God damn it. I was looking for the wah, wah, wah.
If they last to week 3, they will do better than the RFL.
So
not even make it to week 3.
This will, if they make it past week 3, they will beat the championship game against the Mighty Mites, the Raiders versus the Pandas. It says that
they will defeat my video game league that didn't make it to week 4.
Listen to this. All 4 XFL games had an announced attendance between 17,000 and 18,000. I think Kevin Hart had more people attend his comedy show.
Yeah, probably.
So,
but like if you're comparing it to just like not an NFL game, obviously, but if you're just comparing it to an event of any sort, like doing that, I mean, thousands of people, that type of number. Obviously, for a huge football game, not what they'd probably want more. But
no, they're looking for about 25 to 30,000, maybe.
Yeah,
that would have been ideal.
At least it wasn't like 50 people in bleachers or something in a high school field.
It wasn't like the Alliance one where they looked like no one was watching. It looked like a preseason game.
Empty arena game.
That's what it looked like. I mean, I think they used ASU for that Hot Shots one, and ASU was like, you're not paying us enough to open this place up because everybody's standing around. Everybody who's watching the game is working. So,
popcorn vendors just
guys like Red. guy's like, red licorice, and let me just sit down and watch the game.
He's selling candy to the players on the sideline.
Well, I did make money off the Saturday's game. I picked the winners that they picked that they had favored. They did have the... Huh?
You don't waste time gambling immediately?
I went right to it. I had withdrawals knowing that the game, NFL, was over. I needed to get something out of this.
You're like Kenny Rogers, the gambler.
Well, it says another prime thing is coming from thehill.com that says that XFL commissioner said Kaepernick rejected by the league after exorbitant salary. Is that exorbitant?
Salary demand?
Asking way too much, they said. He's asking way too much.
He doesn't want to play, and I could guarantee you that I'm pretty sure because what his big thing is, he's got, his people, so to speak, as in, his camp or whatever you want to call it, his agents or people that are in his ear. I pretty much believe I'm with Stephen A. Smith. I think the guy he's a martyr, basically. So, and he's probably thinking after all this, somebody who wants to make a name for themselves probably would, take a shot at him. Who knows? Late hit, anything. So, I'm pretty sure that he knows nobody's going to pay $20 million. So, the fact that he's not out there playing just shows you he's probably never going to play.
I just don't think it's the right time. The XFL is just starting, so for them to put all their chips in that basket would probably hurt them more than anything. So,
I think when you look at this traditionally, this is the stretch before baseball's spring training isn't. I don't know the numbers spring training baseball gets when it is televised.
Right.
There's really from this point on to until the actual baseball season starts or the playoffs, and when playoff hockey and basketball starts, baseball is starting too. There is a bit of a lull. So you got the right time to play this. It's just the quality is going to be what it is, though. These are guys who are not in NFL, teams. Or if they could get bigger names of guys who are coming off their career, maybe, or guys that may have played, one of the teams got Landry Jones, I think. But if you could get a few more recognized names in there, it has a chance to draw some interest, past, the initial honeymoon period. But, it's interesting. You want to see how it's going, but it definitely, something's got to catch your eye for you to keep watching.
The part I think that's going to be bad is that it's coming off of a bad beginning because it came out 20 years ago. It did not make it. It was not successful. It's coming off the back. It's coming off the tail end of the what do you call it? The Alliance football program. So with both of those hanging in the dark and people not really being too ready for this kind of stuff, that players, I think, that actually have some kind of opportunity to make money, I don't think that they're going to want to jump in and jeopardize their career for something that's probably not good for them right now.
Yeah.
So
now, a lot of money.
Yahoo Sports is writing that Johnny Manziel, they're trying to still get him. Now, he played for Alliance football program. He was actually out there.
Huh.
And I think they used him by trying to give him, they were trying to use him to get the ratings. Like we have Michael Jordan or something like that. So
we have Michael Jordan's cousins, brothers,
so
friend, sister.
But again, I think at this thing, they're going to have to be real careful about the way they approach former NFL players or NFL players who aren't doing anything. Because in my opinion, it's coming off of two programs. One is the XFL from 2001, and one is the Alliance football program from 2019. Neither one of them were successful. So it just keeps repeating itself. It's like history repeats itself, that semi-pro. I'm going to call it semi-pro, but like a what do you want to call these things? This is like an amateur football program.
Yeah.
That is attempting to be a professional football program, and you're wanting people to invest like they invest in the NFL. I mean, look how many years the NFL has been around, and then you're going to ask people to invest their money and time into something that honestly could fall apart after 6 months. It could be. I mean, it may not even make the full season. It's just that's why I think everybody's thinking about that Alliance program and how it did not do well.
Yeah. Well, I think that I read the explanation of why it's still called the XFL, and McMahon himself said there's only so many initials that aren't used that have football, like FL in it. So he obviously wanted to have the FL in there, and I think the reason it's still the XFL is in name only, basically. So they are trying to basically probably get that initial bad taste out of your mouth, because the people that remember the XFL, are going to see that and say, oh, it's this again. But it's really not. It doesn't have the gimmicks of the original one.
Now,
so
let's not forget.
Different, just using those initial, basically. And it's hard because you have to kind of rebrand it that this isn't the old XFL. This is a completely new thing.
And let's not forget, back in the day, 1980s, when I was growing up, the United States Football League, the USFL, was around. Yeah. And actual players came out of that USFL, and they did play. This before Arizona even had a professional football team. The Arizona Outlaws and the Arizona Wranglers were the teams. It was both the same, but they were like the Wranglers first, and then they were the Outlaws. Back in 1980, I want to say 83, maybe 84. So those teams did exist before we actually had Phoenix. Well, they were called the Phoenix Cardinals, but then they became the Arizona Cardinals. So some of those people actually, went on to play professional football. I mean, Herschel Walker, I think, was one of them, correct? He came out of the USFL?
Yeah, or CFL. There's been a lot of players that came out of the CFL back in the day, right? The Canadian Football League.
And is Canadian Football League even around anymore?
That's what I was just going to ask you. I mean, I was just thinking about that. We'll have to look that up because the CFL was actually pretty big back in the day as far as, that having notoriety.
I want to say it was Herschel Walker.
You might be right.
That came out of the USFL, and so I mean, this could be something that's very positive. And it's funny when you look up Herschel Walker, it says former football player and bobsledder. What? Who fucking remembers him bobsledding?
Kofi Kingston, bobsledder.
So he did. He came from the New Jersey Generals in 1983. So there are positives that could come out of this going into the XFL. I think the XFL, that sounds stupid anyways, it's XFL. I think they should have done they should have called it Vince McMahon XFL. Vince McMahon FL. I don't know what that it just sounds goofy. It's like guys in tights FL. So
well, yeah, and it goes back to him saying he just there's no other without adding extra letters and wanting to keep it a 3-letter league. That was the only reason. I mean, it does seem like they're trying to force that to work, but at least his explanation was basically there's only like certain number of FLs available, and rather than try to probably purchase another one, he just decided, hell, fuck it, I used the XFL before, because I don't even think they think of it as the extreme foot. It's just X is just being there, but they don't really refer to it, because you won't hear, I think, Extreme Football League ever. All they're going to say is XFL, and there's no X stands for basically nothing now, I guess, is, X marks the spot. We don't have a different acronym. That's why it's still the XFL.
Just put the Football League.
The league. The league.
The league. That would be the TV show. So, Canadian Football League, believe it or not, started in 1958. Shit, man.
It's still around. I was just looking at that.
It's still around. So
yeah,
there's still football being played, and I don't ever pay attention to Canadian football, so I don't even know when it actually is being played.
June.
It's a 21-week regular season, it says, with 18 games with 3 bye weeks. Played, mid-June to early November. So they kind of cut right into that's a long season. Shit.
You had a summer vacation in the middle of the season for 3 weeks.
It plays from mid-June to November. That's about 5 months into the season. It's a 5-month football program, and then they get the Grey Cup. We don't even want to call it a Silver Cup. It's gray because it's just so snowy and crappy here. The weather ruins these Silver Cups.
We don't have any money to gloss it.
Yep. And then someone says, hey, looks like we get paid more over there in the States, eh? And then they leave, and they go over there and become kickers. So, looks like the Canadian Football League's still around. Back in the day, it was the World League for me when I was out of college. And then the XFL, I think, is something that's trying to capitalize, like you said, during the time frame that there's nothing going on for football, and that they're trying to have something during that time. I don't think that it's going to take off, but obviously there must be some money to be made, or these Vince McMahon and his partners wouldn't dive back into something that failed.
Let me ask you a question. Are you football fatigued right now, or do you actually feel like you can watch another whole season of football of any sort?
Yeah, see, I like watching football because but I have a hard time. It'd be like me watching a movie I really don't care about. So during the NFL, you seem to, not every game I watch. If there was a football game on from the NFL, it's not like I say I have to watch it. But there's a lot of backstory behind a lot of these games. And the thing about it is everybody has picked a team. Everybody has picked some kind of, you pick the Bears, I pick the Raiders. Everybody picks something that they stand behind for the season. Problem with the XFL is it makes me think about when the NFL first came out way back in the day. Did it start off shitty because people weren't really backing these teams? Like they weren't saying, "Well, I can't wait to see the Chicago Cubs or Chicago whatever come out and play." Chicago Cardinals, and they're my team. That's the thing. I don't think there's a whole lot behind building it up as other than what you see is what you're watching is another football game. It'd be like watching anything. So
there's actually a really good documentary on that actually from the start of the NFL, AFL, all that stuff. It's like the NFL history or something. You could see how many teams didn't even last a year. Some came back, and it's just really kind of cool.
And like you said, they got to look at the town. They got to look at whether or not this is going to be something that attracts people to want to tune in and watch or pay a ticket and go see. And I think that's the hardest part about it is I don't really care. So I'll just watch it to watch it. And when I was in Vegas this weekend attending a football conference for coaching, I saw the game and I kind of glanced at it and I was like, oh, they're playing. And then that was it. So it's almost like trying to sell me something that's already been sold. I'm already sold on the NFL. So to sell me on this, you're really going to have to find those hardcore fans who want to watch football all the time. And I like watching football, but right now when I saw the scores of those games, nothing was close. So I was like, these games are blowouts, man. These games suck. So
the Tampa team has the old Bears coach, Mark Trestman, in there, and he's already catching heat because he was using 2 quarterbacks throughout the entire game, apparently.
Right. So I think it's going to take a time, and I don't wish this to be a shitty season for anyone. I don't think this It's not right to put these guys out there and have them work their ass off to play football, and then people don't support it. So if you live in those towns, go watch the fucking game. Because these dudes are out there. They may be making some money, but they're also out there busting their ass for this. And a lot of these guys, this is all they know. This is all they can do. So go support it. I don't know what ticket costs are to go see a game, but it's football. And if you like watching football, which most people do, I wouldn't mind seeing this live. I don't think I'd want to see watching it on TV is just too easy for me to turn it off. So I don't know, man. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a little bit to me to sit there and say this is worth paying not a ticket to see, but going to see, taking my time to go see this game, like turning it on and watching it.
And this is, I'll throw this out to you, because this has been said by a couple different people that I've talked to about the league. Would you be more apt to get behind it if this was like, say, a developmental league for the NFL? Say the guys who are on the
because it could be.
Wouldn't want them and risk seeing any of those guys get hurt.
No,
basically, if it was like
smaller.
It's
still, it can be though. Players. That's the thing. It can be. Yeah. It can be that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It can be a developmental league. There's nothing stopping that.
No, because if there's somebody who's a standout player in this league, he's still out there balling.
Right.
So an NFL team would be stupid to pass on a guy that's clearly might be really good at that position.
I mean,
and you would have maybe otherwise wouldn't have seen him play. This could be definitely a place for him to, because he's not going to make any money in this league, basically, in terms of, financial security the rest of your life. McMahon sets this up the way he owns all 6 teams, or 8 teams, I'm sorry, and basically all the players, I think, are paid the same. Is that, I don't know if that's exactly true, but they're pretty much very similar if they're not all the same. So it's going to come from a place of, if they're playing there, they're probably auditioning for the NFL.
Well, here's an idea of how much tickets are. If you want to sit on 50-yard line, lower level, kind of watching it, it's $174 to almost $330 for a ticket. In the Seattle CenturyLink Field Stadium. So if you want to sit in the end zone, tickets are about $44 to $67. And they're in the end zone, lower levels. So, and the funniest thing is there's no tickets up top. There's no tickets available up top. But there's some boxes. Most of the stuff's in the hundreds. Here's a $500 one. What the fuck that is? Looks like a clubhouse. So
clubhouse. You sit right. You have a lawn chair right next to
you're on the sideline with a microphone, getting a chance to interview the players. So I think
you're not
that
be paid for it.
That's the problem. Is if that many people went to see these games and the tickets are that costly, then they must have something. Because if I was them, I'd let fucking people in. I'd be like $30 tickets no matter what. And just get everybody in the door. But obviously they got to pay these prices to use these stadiums. So it looks like tickets are pretty expensive to see these games. But these kids, they probably aren't getting paid that much. I mean, it's like arena football when it first came out. It just didn't pay a whole lot. But they're still playing football, and they're still out there busting their ass. And they're going to be out there laying it out there to play football because this is what they want. This is what these people are. And that's probably the coolest part about it is this is going to be this probably will be more fun to watch because there's probably going to be a lot more hardcore action because people are out there really trying to sell themselves, trying to get into the NFL. So
here's that. The player salary, the average XFL player salary is $55,000, which includes a base pay along with a bonus for each being active during each game, and players are awarded a bonus for being on the winning team as well. So there's like an actual winner's purse to it, basically.
So I'm 19 years old, I'm 24 years old or whatever, and I'm playing for $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice, right?
Oh yeah, I mean.
Now I have a family of four. I have a family of 4, and I used to play in the NFL. Fuck no, that probably sucks, man.
Salary.
So Manziel coming out might be a long shot, but who knows? Maybe he just wants to play football. Maybe the guy's a baller.
They said the XFL coach's salary is estimated to be $500,000. That's insane compared to what the players are making.
You never coached football before, fucker. It's a hard job, and I can imagine doing it in a pro football setting because those son of a bitches are constantly on when it starts till it ends, and their lifespan is like 60 years of age, and then they're dead. So they die.
That'll pay for his funeral, basically.
That'll pay for their kids to get a nice house and shit when daddy dies from the XFL coaching staff when he's like, it's a touchdown, and passes out on the field and dies of a heart attack. Because all he's eating is Cane's chicken wings and drinking soda during the videos and chalk talks.
Yeah, I'm sure they're busting their ass to get their team ready.
Fuck yeah, they probably want to go to the NFL just like everyone else, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
well, he said the players can earn up to $250,000. The best players.
Yeah.
So basically, Manziel would.
It's like arena football, man. It's the same thing. Well, I wish these guys well as we exit this Me Podcast You Listen, as we discuss the XFL and how it just, first week, who's to say what, when, where, how, who knows how it's fucking going to happen. But this is the XFL theme cover song by some guy with a guitar on YouTube. I don't know what it's called, but it looks like it's just themed by Jim Johnson. I think he made this hoping that he would get into the XFL and they would